time on the clock. So Magnus, under 30 seconds, has to make quick decisions. Pawn takes pawn has to be the move here.
You just saw him check in with his clock. Now down to 20 seconds, makes a move back up to 35. He decides to snap that pawn off. That does mean there is an e-pawn that could eventually become a queen. But just as you said, Tanya, he's going to use this opportunity to bring his king towards the center, maybe dislodge that rook.
It's a very clear path in, and then the white knight has a beautiful square at the center of the board. Levon preempting it, wants to look for rook activity on the second rank.
The problem is, as soon as the black rook gets active and starts kind of going to munch pawns, white's king is moving in, white's knight is moving in, the white rook is going to get up to start checking the black king. It's an active king against the passive king. Checkmating ideas in the air.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, this is Magnus 101. This is where he thrives. The king has entered.
The last 20 moves, it almost feels like Magnus has outclassed Levon in this endgame.
Yeah, there would only be one square for the king to defend, but it could easily get kicked away by the knight soon after. So instead, if you want to defend this, you have to give up one of your pawns on that 6th rank. Instead, he's going to drop his knight back.
Ooh, good move. Threatening a knight fork, and Magnus is saying, do you dare trade? Rook trade offered. Wow, that is brave. He's saying he has enough pawns left to win this.
It's very famous, right? Knight pawn endgames are almost like king pawn endgames, and that's the feeling that you get. If rook's off the board, Magnus should have a close to winning advantage with that very active king, a super passer, the e5 pawn under check right now, the knight poised to jump on to e4. Rook takes rook could be a losing move here.
Rook takes rook looks really bad.
Yeah.
Like, maybe if one extra set of pawns were off the board and you could just focus on one half, but while pawns are split so far across the board, knights cannot fight, especially because Levon will end up a pawn down there. So if not that, then what? If he moves his rook across, the white knight is coming with gain of time. If you give some checks, the white king is just gobbling up the pawn in the center. Levon might have to give up a pawn to hold this position. This is so difficult now.
And the thing is, we've got the bar telling us things are still under check for Levon. It's still in the balance, but he's got to be having the feeling that things have completely gone out of control for him.
Yeah. Spiraling, it feels like this game.
Yeah. I think both players in their mind know that white is clearly, or they assume that white is clearly better. We see the eval bar in the center. That's because black probably has a really narrow path of maybe half a dozen or more accurate moves in a row just to hold in the short term.
And it's either of those knight checks.
It has to be a knight check.
He gives
finds
one of them.
At least there, his knight will not get hit when the white king takes this pawn now.
I mean, Magnus is about to go up a pawn. That's the first tangible advantage he's gotten in the game.
Yeah, this is great defense, though, from Levon. He finds the best way forward. He's getting his rook active. That is the key. You cannot defend passively. The black knight and black king are passive, so he needs one active piece at least to compensate.
That's very brave as well, because the white rook is also ready to jump into the 7th rank, giving checks of his own. Magnus Carlsen up a pawn. Will it be enough? He goes to the other side of the board.
Okay, looks like he wanted to go towards his pawn, but there might have been some nasty knight checks in the air. This square at least helps the king cover the knight jump in the near future. Levon, how does he justify the fact he's a pawn down now?
Well, it feels like it's got to be what you said. Get that rook in to the 2nd rank. Hit both knight and the h-pawn at the same time. Instead, he's going to slide over for another check.
And maybe another one as well, asking a question again, which side do you want to go with your king?
Ooh, but another check now. At least white would be able to guard the 2nd rank, and there'll be no infiltration. So is it now or never with the black rook?
He decides
it is.
Takes.
Oh, that's what's on the line right there. $200,000 and the title of freestyle chess champion in South Africa.
Yeah. Magnus about to do Magnus things in this endgame is the feeling that we're getting right now. The rook comes in, attacks the knight and the pawn. But Magnus about to play with all his pieces. He gives in a check. The king has to fall back to defend the knight.
Yeah, he is closer than ever, though, Levon. He's going to get at least one pawn on the next move once the white knight saves itself. Then he's probably going to get the other pawn on the other side of the board. And then it's just a question of whether he can sacrifice his knight for white's remaining pawn, the powerful c-pawn. If he can sacrifice it, get all of white's pawns off the board, he's going to draw.
My heart's beating out of my chest. I can only imagine what these two players are thinking and feeling in this moment.
Especially Magnus down to 20 seconds.
That's right.
And Levon knowing that it's just so close. Magnus has to make a move. Now under 15 seconds for him.
Time always a factor.
He wants to jump in with a knight, but where does he go? He gives a check instead.
He wants to buy himself some time.
Ooh, big question for Levon, though. Can he improve his king, or does he just have to repeat the position? Can he go towards the white pawn in the near future? That feels a bit scary, because you'll also be walking closer to the white knight. And I think...
For Levon, the best part is that he's got time on the clock for these difficult decisions, these difficult questions that Magnus is posing on him right now. Levon has time to navigate these decisions. You know, with everything on the line, the pressure, the nerves of the title being so close for Levon, playing against Magnus. If he gets this draw, it would be a massive achievement.
He's looking for this, you know, the storybook finish against Magnus Carlsen to put him away in an endgame, right? To have done already what is the unthinkable and take the decisive win in game number 1. If you can hold him off here in game number 2 and get it done, he's looking for it. And he decides he's going to just slide his king up to the e7 square. Another point of safety, getting 15 seconds back, says Magnus, you're the one who has to win. You're the one who has to take a stab.
Okay, he repeats, but he's not going to do it again. The king falls back. Magnus adds some time to the clock. 10 seconds. The knight jumps forward.
Okay, Levon is going to grab one of the 2 pawns. I'm not sure whether the order matters here, but you have to get those pawns off the board. They're potential future queens, and he knows that survival lies in an endgame without those white pawns.
But Magnus is heading towards that black king, right? Knight landing on d4, coming in with some checks. The white king also closing in via e5 and d6, looking for a mating net.
Maybe, but the black knight is such a good defender. The white pieces will need a lot of luck to coordinate and get past the king and knight combo. I think Magnus knows that he just can't create any threats in time. Levon, though, double-checking everything.
But that's the hope, that's the dream, right? Magnus does need a little bit of luck to take this to tie breaks.
Decides the h-pawn is the one that he wants. Magnus is going to use his single passer to move up one more square, kind of clamp down on the black position just a little bit, less opportunities, or options rather, for the black king to go to. And yes, threatening that check from the rook as well.
But black could just snap up that a2 pawn, right? And then Magnus has to go for the kill.
Yeah, Magnus, I don't know if he's bluffing or not, but he's trying to set one final trap here. And that's always how it works. It's still a level endgame. It has been the whole time. But Levon's been on the back foot the last few moves, but there will come a time where there might only be one move for survival. Magnus is going to try and narrow the path. He's going to hope that Levon's down under the 1 minute mark, and then he's going to say, okay, you have an only move. If you find it, draw. If not, good luck. It's a check first.
Yeah, he doesn't go pawn grabbing.
He wants to go behind maybe in some positions.
Yeah,
if the white king steps up, then the black rook goes, I think, behind. It's still scary. There are some knight fork ideas in the air for both sides.
Yeah, very interestingly, the white king can't land on that d6 square because of the defensive resource of knight jumping back to e8 with a fork. So Magnus falls back with the king, controls that c4 square.
Yeah, very important to stop the black rook going behind. It's another check.
Where do you go, David? Because c5, if you get your king to c5, there's a knight e6 fork. You get your king to d6, there's a knight e8 fork. Where is Magnus's king finding inroads?
Maybe he doesn't find inroads. Maybe this is just a fantastic idea from Levon. When in doubt, give a check. That's what I was told when I was playing a lot of blitz chess, and it was a rook endgame. And yeah, here, the white king just cannot bypass. Even if it steps forward, it will get checked again. And as Tanya said, there's no way past the 5th rank. The king is so passive now, though.
Does he keep checking? Does he continue? Or will Levon get his pieces into activity? Magnus Carlsen, a little bit of frustration there as he goes under the 30-second mark. He's done everything to create his chances, but Levon up to the task.
Stalwart as ever in his defense here, Levon Aronian, against the endgame master of Magnus Carlsen.
This is why he's been unbeaten throughout this whole week so far. Levon defending some difficult positions, but always doing it confidently, actively. He can keep checking. That looks fine too. He can move his knight. I think those are the 2 candidate moves here, the 2 candidate ideas at least. Which one's it going to be?
The one path I see for the white king could be via c3, b4, a5. You go diagonally to try to infiltrate on the other flank. If Levon was to keep checking, and maybe that's why he's taken a pause.
Yeah, Magnus has an idea up his sleeve. He always does. But now Levon's clock is ticking under 3 minutes. He's about to decide. He moves his knight finally off a really passive square. Great decision. Now the white king is so far away the black rook and black knight can fight the enemy pieces. He's got enough in the action. He gains time against the white rook.
And you've got to keep that rook on the 7th rank if you're Magnus Carlsen, not allowing the black king to step up.
It's going to give a check. King will slide out of the way, but still blockading that promotion square from that pawn.
Hits the knight. And Levon. Is he going to go back all the way next to the king to put pressure on c6, or will he bring it in front to block that c-pawn from moving forward? I don't think you want to go offside on that right side of the board. You want to keep that knight as close as possible to the white pawn.
I think he can force a draw here, or at least a drawn endgame. There we go. He goes back. If the white knight now defends its pawn, he can just attack the knight. There's no way to defend because you can take that knight off the board. If the white king steps forward, there's going to be a knight check, a knight fork.
Wow.
Worst case scenario, you give up your knight now for this pawn and you just go check, and you take the a2 pawn, and it's rook and knight versus rook. That's a draw.
And it's the same story if the knight defends from a5. You could give a check, or you could slide it all over to a3. So with no defense possible, Magnus pushes the pawns moments away from Levon potentially winning the Grand Slam.
Yeah. Quick responses here from Levon as well, as Magnus continues to reach for resources, continues to extend the game, as he's so classically known to do.
But Black's found the perfect way to just separate the white army. Look at the lack of coordination. The white rook now so far away from the knight. The pawn has been distanced. Now he's going back, Levon Aronian. He's going to slide his rook across, going to bring it back. He's going to eliminate that white pawn. That is going to secure the draw he needs.
That is stunning. That is so precise. He stops the white knight from jumping in. A single check on Levon Aronian would be game over for him. He's making sure that Magnus's knight isn't going anywhere. Look at the way he's dominating, and there it is!
And he does it. Levon Aronian, undefeated run through South Africa to become your 5th Grand Slam champion and to go back-to-back to close out his 2025.
Wow.
Levon Aronian, look at the celebrations. He deserves it. He's going to be rewarded with a kiss there. And yeah, that was just a fantastic display of determination, focus.